This is not just an organization. It's a new thrust. It's a new direction.
Zimbabwe turned 43 years of self-rule, of majority rule, after power was transferred from the minority white colonial settlers, following a protracted liberation war struggle. Now Zimbabweans are taking stock 43 years after dethroning the minority white and attaining majority rule. On this, the Free Talk, we are going to be discussing Zimbabwe's past, Zimbabwe's present, and Zimbabwe's future. The politics, the people, power, and the so what question. Is it Uhuru yet? Now joining me to discuss this and ventilate these issues is none other than the change champion-in-chief, Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Now join me just after this break as we talk to Advocate Nelson Chamisa, Zimbabwe's past, present, future, people, power, and politics. I'm your host as usual, Dara Blessed Mhlaba. Now welcome back to this, the Free Talk, in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman Foundation for Freedom. Now we are going to be discussing the politics, the people, and power 43 years after independence. Is it yet Uhuru? Thank you very much, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, for joining us this evening. Now let us talk about Zimbabwe at 43. What is Zimbabwe at 43 for you?
Well, thank you very much, Blessed, and thank you, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe at 43, yes, we are now an adult as a nation, but that adult we must be celebrated for graduating into maturity, but with little evidence to show for it. Yes, we salute our forebears, we salute our citizens, present and past, serving and departed, who contributed to the liberation of our country, and we salute their efforts. We celebrate their contribution. But beyond the celebration and the salutation, we have serious problems as a nation. You are saying we are 43. 5 million of our citizens are in the diaspora. We are 43. But unemployment is above 95%. We are 43. But inflation, our inflation is the highest in the world. Our inflation is #1. Our corruption, we're in the top 3 of the world, if not #1, #2, thereabout. That tells you that our problems are so dire. 49% of the adult population are in extreme poverty, according to the latest report by the World Bank. That tells you the challenges we have, and that we are a nation in tatters, disunited, without peace, without freedom. Job Scholar is incarcerated on account of trumped-up charges. So many of our citizens' movement leadership and change champions have been arraigned before the courts on charges that are trumped up, that are politically motivated. So we've moved from Law and Order Maintenance Act to the Maintenance of Order and Peace Act. Same script, same fabric, same substance. We have not changed even the form. So colonialism is now in African skin. Imperialism has now assumed a new level and a new dimension. So yes, independence is good, but it can't just be paper independence. It's not yet Uhuru. We need true independence. What is independence? Independence manifests itself in your pocket, in your stomach, the type of clothes you wear, the houses you have, the roof above your head, and all those questions have not been answered. You go into the rural areas, there's been a significant deterioration of life and livelihoods. We are still where we were. In fact, the same huts that we had during the settler regime are the same huts people are living in. You look at infrastructure. Most of the townships that were still, very good way back have even gone down. So nothing has really significantly improved as far as we are concerned, from a governance perspective, a political index perspective, a happiness index perspective, and a general freedom perspective. All these things I've shown you. We had Poneni Mwibe who was killed in Kwekwe at a political gathering. We've had threats, we've had abductions, we've had kidnappings, we've had numerous arrests, not just of political activists, even journalists, threats even to trade union leaders. That tells you that 43 years down the line, we're a nation in despair. We're a nation that is sweating under deadening impoverishment and poverty on account of bad governance and bad leadership.
Yes, but some would argue, Advocate Chamisa, that Zimbabweans now are able to walk on the streets that they ordinarily could not have. We've got empowered black business people like Strive Masiwa running Econet. We have companies like Nyaradzo, where traditionally, people of our skin could not venture into those. We actually even have black advocates like yourself having benefited from that independence, but you are saying it's not yet Uhuru.
Well, I must say that having one or two champions who have really worked very hard, and we salute the efforts by the Masiwas of this world and even Nyaradzo, Mataranyika, they've done very well. But that's not where we should be. You can't talk of a drop in the ocean and then celebrate that drop and you say half a loaf is better than nothing. We don't need that minimalist perspective where we come from a position of lack, from a position of inadequacy, where we say, oh, look, we have one or two people. We must be having multi-millionaires, many of them, on account of a transformed state. If you look at the multitude of our people, they're still wallowing in abject poverty. Look at the state of affairs, our war veterans. Look at how our people are living. Young people, 97% employment or so. Look at in the rural areas. People hardly have $1 a day. There is general and extreme poverty across the whole country, and that must be addressed. It has nothing to do with what you are saying. Yes, we may be walking in the streets, but we are poor. We may be walking in the streets, but we are in chains. Why? Because there's no freedom of expression, freedom after expression. There's no freedom of movement, or freedom after movement. Why? 58 of our rallies were banned. 58 of our rallies, were just cancelled by the police. And this is just but an indication of the problems that we have. So this whole thing of saying, no, because so-and-so is an advocate, and therefore we have done very well. The indicators, we should be somewhere, had it been that we are in a free society. We are not yet free. We are not yet with true independence. But thank God, this year is the year we are going to be celebrating that true independence. Uhuru is upon us, and it must be a punctuation of the revolution that was checked out for.
Advocate Chamisa, if you were to locate Zimbabwe's problems, you're talking about Zimbabwe having serious problems. If you were to locate at the core, what is causing all this, and what can be done to make sure that we are out of what you say we are in?
Well, I must say that it is governance. It is bad leadership. It is our politics. Our politics is broken. Our nation is broken. In fact, I would say we are not yet a nation. because we are not united, we are not focused, we are not tolerant. There is no celebration of diversity. If anything, diversity is punished. Pluralism is not accepted. That is what we must fix. Rigged elections, broken institutions. We celebrate a big man instead of a big idea. We build strong men instead of building strong institutions. That is what we must be attacking and addressing. How do we build strong institutions of the republic? This is why in our humble submission, we need a new republic anchored on strong institutions, on big ideas, but more fundamentally on making sure that we celebrate our diversity as a people. That is what we must fix. Governance. Let's fix our governance. Let's stop elections that are disputed, elections that are rigged, elections that have a contestable and contested outcome. Our plebiscites are all contested. That must be addressed. That's why SADC were in the country just recently. That's why you find that our elections are a laughing thing within the region and on the continent. We're a laughing stock. That's why over 5 million of our citizens are in the diaspora. Why are they there? They're running away from this beautiful country. Over 60 minerals. But yet we have Botswana there with just one mineral, a diamond. Here you have all the financial illicit flows. Look at the 1.8 billion that we lose every year. In fact, the Al Jazeera report is an indication of the correctness of that, statistic. 1.2 billion gold is being smuggled every year. Almost 600 million of other minerals. Corruption, 1 billion gets wasted every year. Yet if you look at the salary bill, our civil service salary bill, we'll be able to pay our teachers handsomely, our doctors, our nurses, our war veterans, even giving them pensions and a decent life, if we were to save the smuggled resources and these resources that are going down the drain to the mafias. And the mafias are everywhere. It's not just gold. Platinum, there's a platinum mafia. Chrome, there's a chrome mafia. You go to energy itself, there's an energy mafia, petrol, diesel. For every dollar, there's always that element of corruption. And that is what we must clean sweep.
You talk about these mafias, the gold mafia and the platinum mafia. You have been accused of being silent and not taking the leading role, especially after the Al Jazeera documentary exposed corruption and these illicit financial flows. Why have you stood aside, Akimbo, while all this is raveling?
Well, two things. The first one is that I'm not Emerson, I'm Nelson. Mnangagwa is the one who is presiding over this nation. And therefore, fingers have to point at him because he has the responsibility and the accountability. He is the one who presides over the Reserve Bank. He is the one who has been entrusted, of course, illegitimately, with the stewardship of our national resources, the silverware of the family. I'm there as an alternative. And what has been proven by this Al Jazeera report is what we have always known, that indeed the problem is corruption, that indeed a fish rots from the head, that indeed our biggest problem is our leadership. It is leadership stupid. We have everything else except leadership, and that's why we are where we are. So the person who should give you answers around the fact that we have borders that are porous, we have the airport that is so embarrassingly porous, and we have all these corrupt deals taking place, is Mr. Mnangagwa. But beyond that, we have done what is enough. The whole world is now aware of all these problems. We have our structures across the whole country. Everyone now knows where the problem is, and we are all focusing on the solution. That's why we are saying, wherever you are, register to vote, play your part, take action, take charge. How do you take charge? You have to make sure that we have new leaders, and we are the new leaders. We are ready to clean this country.
Some presidential spokesperson has accused you of, said your silence is partly sponsored by the fact that one of those implicated in the gold mafia scandal was or is still your client, and you have a relationship with him, and therefore your tongue is tied.
Well, first of all, my tongue is not tied. Secondly, I have no relationship with any of those actors in the gold mafia. Thirdly, the presidential spokesperson doesn't know how lawyers function, particularly advocates. In any event, I was not the one who was responsible in that matter. That was an Advocate Mpofu matter. And as far as I know, Advocate Mpofu is one of the finest advocates in the country. And he acts for his clients. And I'm not accountable for that. You know, I did my privilege in the advocates' chambers. So I would work with Advocate Mpofu, not as the plead or principal advocate, but assisting and under the pupillage. So it was in the context of that that we presented and we acted in that matter, not as my client. In any event, advocates actually do act on behalf of law firms, and they don't have personal relationships with the so-called clients. I would not speak on behalf of Advocate Mpofu, but I can tell you that there's nothing untoward. That matter had nothing to do with gold. It had nothing to do with corruption. It was a trademarks issue. And we'll continue to discharge our responsibilities to the best of our ability in the interests of justice, to the ends of justice, because we have always stood on the side of justice.
Put differently, do you have a relationship with Radland?
No relationship at night, during the day, now, or ever in the past. No relationship whatsoever. Of course, like I said, I sympathize with presidential spokesman George Charamba. He doesn't know how the League of Fraternity functions. I think he would be better educated to understand how advocates function. But I can tell you that there's no relationship, there's nothing untoward. We have a clean life. And if those who would want to be represented really feel that they've got pertinent issues, Advocate Mpofu is there to represent them. He has represented us. He will represent any other. ZANU-PF, MDC, Mr. Monzora loves to be in the courts, or CCC, we're hardly in the courts. There's nothing to do with parties. It's all to do with justice.
At one point, lawyers who are also members of your political party have been accused of actually standing in and representing people who have been brought to court over allegations of corruption, which as the party you have said that you are totally against. Now, where do you draw the line, the morality of being a principled politician and a lawyer looking to feed his or her family?
Fighting for justice is a principled position. Fighting for the downtrodden and the oppressed is a principled position. The jury is still out on one who has been accused or alleged to have performed or committed an act. That has to be determined by the court. But the fact that we deprive people of their legal representation is not something that can ever be imagined. If anything, we as a party, we don't run individual private practices of lawyers. It's a professional obligation and duty. Of course, our members have never been entangled in supporting or promoting corrupt people. I've said this on record, and this allegation does not wash, particularly when it comes to our members of the CCC.
I just want to take you to aspects of, the problems that we have. And you've spoken about the problems. You've been accused again of not having solutions and not proffering solutions. In fact, you have been called ideologyless, structureless, and as dead as a dodo. Now let's talk about that.
Well, I'm so glad that you have this charge sheet of accusations. Now, why would you come to the accused who seems to be so useless and structureless? The only reason why people say that is that to whom much is given, much is expected. We have been given the support by Zimbabweans, and of course they expect much, and we will be able to deliver that much. Watch the space. The election is coming. We will prove. We will, as we have proved, look at the by-election. We had close to about 28 by-elections in this country for the parliamentary election. We did 19 out of 28. That's big. For the ward elections, we had about 149. 89 out of 149. That's not small. That's big. That tells you that we are people of substance. We are a citizen movement. In any event, it's not about us, the leaders. It's really about the base. It's really about the citizens themselves. They are the ones who are responsible for the trajectory of this movement. And they are happy. We are happy. The direction is good. The momentum is good. We have made significant scores on the parliamentary front, on the local government front, and we continue even to make significant inroads, particularly across the countryside. We have our footprint in all the four corners of our country, in all the provinces. It's all yellow. And we are turning this nation yellow in a big way. So yes, people will say all sorts of things and all sorts of accusations, but we are very clear when it comes to policies. We had in our Yester party, the previous party, the SMART document. But we are going to be launching a new document that will dictate the direction and the pace of our policy prescription. The new Zimbabwe blueprint that's coming. It's going to be launched very soon. And as I have already indicated, without going into the substance and the meat of it, we are focusing on 5 critical issues. Number 1, restoration. We need the restoration of dignity, the restoration of citizen hope, the restoration of citizen opportunities and citizen sovereignty. Citizens at the center. Let's have citizens taking center stage and being the priority, citizens first. How do we do that? Let's restore the confidence of citizens in the government. The restoration of the rule of law, restoration of property rights, restoration of fundamental freedoms, restoration of discipline and order in the country. We can't have a country where people are subjected to abuses by drug lords or mafias, as if there is no government, as if there is no stewardship. We need the restoration of order in this country. Rule of law, murders, violence, bloodshed, impunity and immunity, all those have to be cured, but that takes leadership. It takes alternative leadership, and we are that leadership. Restoration is key. Number 2 is the issue of reconstruction. Everything is broken down. We need to reconstruct our heart set. We need to reconstruct our governance matrix, our perspectives of leadership. We need to reconstruct our infrastructure, rebuild it. Look at the roads. Look at the schools. Everything is dilapidated. Look at all structures, hospitals. Nothing works, nothing functions. Water systems, there's nothing that functions. So reconstruction is key. Number 3 is transformation. At the heart of transformation is the culture. We need to transform our governance culture. We need to transform our human rights culture. We need to transform our citizen respect and the culture of interacting with citizens. Transformation is key. Our laws have to be fundamentally transformed. 4th, but not least, is obviously the issue of modernization. We need to modernize our systems. Everything has to be modernized. And that is going to be our key agenda. Last but not least is the issue of reconciliation, bringing the nation back together on the basis of peace. We are one people. We are one nation. We must focus on one vision. We must reach out to each other. We must build a Zimbabwe for everyone. A Zimbabwe for many, not for a few. A Zimbabwe for all, not just for one family. We need to move away from this system of just having a few individuals benefiting from the national cake. That is all to do with reconciliation. There are too many people who are angry. Too many people who have been wounded. Historically, we need restorative justice, rehabilitative justice, reach out to people in society, have from bottom up to the top, reconstruction and restoration. That is our agenda. And that is what we are promising Zimbabweans on the basis of our citizen philosophy. Building a new republic, building a new nation anchored on those pillars where citizens are at the center.
You talk of infrastructure development and you actually...
But I just want you to be clear. Do you have any doubts of our policy direction?
It's about the people to decide, but the people have actually argued that your policy is not clear, and that I spoke to Ibbo Mandaza, and he said that your mantra is just wanting to get power, but you do not have anything clear and anything of substance that Zimbabweans should look forward to.
But the problem is the people you listen to. There are people who have never believed in us. Now when you use them as a source, it's very unfortunate, because they have supported other political parties and they are very active in other political establishments. And we respect that, because that's the diversity we want. But we'll never expect them to give us a good record and a good account of what we do.
But the people have been supporting you. For instance, Oppo Chingwono has been vigorously tweeting in support of the Triple C. But of the past weeks, Oppo Chingwono, a journalist, has said that you are dead as a dodo and you have no direction as to where you're going?
Well, I'm sure you know that he has his views and we respect them. Our death is not going to be defined by an individual. I don't believe that he is the one who issues death certificates for institutions and organizations or even causes. We are alive. We are we are very strong. In fact, we are all over. But it doesn't take an individual. That's his opinion, and we respect it. That's what we are fighting for, the diversity of views, and we respect that view. But we respectively differ because we are kicking, and of course, we refuse to accept that misbegotten and misconceived view.
I want to take you to the aspects, the 5 aspects that you're talking about. One of the aspects you talk about reconstruction and you talk about roads and infrastructure. Advocate Nelson Chamisa, you are in charge of urban local authorities. Roads have turned into death traps in local urban authorities under your watch. Refuse has not been collected. Do you think that you can begin to convince the people out there that you will have infrastructure development when you have failed over the past 5 years?
I think what is important is for you to understand that local government is not the one that is in charge of the roads. It is Zinara, and Zinara is central government. Back then, local authorities would collect fees, vehicle license fees, from the residents. It's no longer the case. So don't point a finger at the local authority on the issue of roads. It is basically Zinara and central government. And the roads that have killed people are mainly our highways that continue to cause problems. And that is what must be fixed. When it comes to local authorities, there's still a big issue around the autonomy of these local authorities. You look at the issues that you have just mentioned to say local authorities, you are in charge. We've contested these issues, and these are legal constraints that have to be dealt with. We haven't implemented devolution. We haven't effected decentralization in terms of the constitution. Mr. Mnangagwa still houses the procurement of all the fundamental services and essentials in the local authorities through the office of the president cabinet, which is bizarre because you can't have a president being responsible for tissue paper in the local authorities. You still have the local government board, which is appointed by the minister. The budget of all our local authorities have to be authorized or approved by the minister. So it's almost like the minister of local government is the mayor of all the cities or the mayor of all mayors. So we need to go back to the restoration of executive mayors. We need to go back to the issue of devolution of authority. And we've said devolution is our next revolution. Let's move to devolving authority, power and responsibility in terms of the constitution so that councils can fully be in charge, so that we can then have accountability at the levels of refuse collection. Yes, we do understand that there are challenges that local authorities have. It has nothing to do with our responsibility. It's all to do with the central government. There are impediments, there are interference, and of course there are corruption. That is what we must attack and deal with.
But with the money that you have collected, your councillors have collected, and the responsibility and authority that they have in local authorities, they have not done much, have they?
Well, they've done so much. In fact, if our local authorities had not done what they are doing under difficult circumstances, against all odds, with all these impediments, by now, Harare would not be a city. You would not be using the toilets you are using, with flushing and the modern ablution systems. You would be going into the bush system right now. If we had not done what we did under difficult circumstances, to have a semblance of some city status or town status must be credit given to our councillors. Otherwise, ZANU-PF wanted to run this place down. That's why you have boars following us in urban areas. That's why you have people now fetching firewood in urban areas. And unheard of, bizarre. People still have tanks. Now, that should not happen. We must have a proper functioning water system. By the way, water is under the purview of the president in terms of the Water Act. So all these things have to be disentangled, and we need fundamental legal reform to allow local authorities to be set free and not to be interfered with. I must say, don't expect local authorities to perform miracles under a war ocean of disappointment, deadening poverty, And of course, failure by central government. That is where the problem is. That's why we are saying, let's change leadership at the top, because the top sets the tone. It is dictated by the direction of our country. Don't go to the local authorities. You are going to the tail of the fish. That's when the rot is least. The rot is at the top, and that's where we must attack.
I want us, Advocate Chamisa, to talk to someone who's sitting at home, and they're saying to themselves, there's really no need for us to elect councillors, the CCC into council, because at the end of the day, they will tell us that they can't do anything because they're not the ones in charge. It's the Minister of Local Government. So let's just elect ZANU-PF from council to president.
Well, I must say that I said we are where we are. The fact that we still have a seat status, some modicum of sanity and functionality in the city, is on account of the CCC and the alternative being elected. Had it been ZANU-PF in charge, I would tell you that would be somewhere, would be in disaster in these cities. That's why I told you about Boers. That's why I told you about the kind of attack and the kind of attrition that we've seen on our cities. Our councillors have tried under difficult circumstances. Look at even blue chip companies like Econet. People who are well established can't even perform well in this environment. And it's because the economic environment itself is hostile to things being done in a proper way. So yes, people in the various townships, no. And that's why they've continued to vote for us. We just had by-elections, and we won all the by-elections because they know where the problem is. They know that the rot is at the top. And that's why they want to have new leaders at the top and in the local authorities, so that it's complete and we're able to attack the problem completely, wholesomely, and comprehensively.
You also spoke on your 5 pointers, Advocate Chamisa. You also spoke about culture. Now, some have said that the CCC has slowly become what it's trying to fight. Your supporters have been accused of being acerbic. They are violent, especially on social media platforms, where they speak and attack other people for sharing their own views. You said that this country needs reconciliation, yet your party appears to be in the forefront of causing ructions and making social media unsafe for other users.
Well, I don't know when you say your party is responsible. On one end, people say that he is structureless, he's just one person. On the other hand, they say be responsible for everyone. Be the prefect of the social media. Be accountable for every citizen in terms of their omissions or commissions. It's very unfortunate that there is toxicity in our society. It's a national problem. It's a generational problem, and it must be attacked at that level. I don't encourage acrimony. We have too much hate, and it must be arrested. It manifests itself at various platforms. There's division everywhere. Soccer, basketball, sports, you name it, churches, they're all divided. There's too much division. We must be able to unite this nation. That's why I said there has to be reconciliation, because I am conscious of the problem that we have. We have appealed to people to say, please, let's have a civilized conduct and an approach. But you can't then apportion blame to individuals whom you say are CCC. It's a citizen problem, it's a national problem, and it must be attacked as such. That is why we must really have a conscious leadership, effort as a leadership to then address it from a governmental perspective.
Some say you have just concentrated on treating verses other than addressing these endemic issues, and you have let your supporters go off the leash, so to speak, well, in defense of your name, in defense of the party, in that instance, hurting others.
Well, I must say that I will not stop tweeting verses. I could actually give you another verse here, just for your edification. Because at the end of the day, what's more important is our eternal life. So as a leader, I'm not just looking at transformation in the now. We have to be profitable in the now and in the future. And I'm encouraging people that, please, come, let us reason together. There's power and there's profit in godliness. And those verses are part of the fabric of my faith. When I say God is in it, it's not because I'm sloganeering. I'm a child of God first before I'm a politician. I have to account to the Maker first before I account to all those other who are also made by the Maker. So yes, the issue of verses, I know some people are not comfortable, but I've never imposed my verses. Twitter is a voluntary platform, and those who visit and interact with our platforms, please accept that you must receive our Lord Jesus Christ as the Savior. And I'm glad that you have received Jesus Christ as your Savior. This is my plea to all those who come to my Twitter and my platform to say that is the first message. When it comes to policies, we have platforms where we do that. Official party platforms, the CCC platforms, we are very clear on the policies. And we are going to be launching the new Zimbabwe blueprint that I've told you. And it will come. So
do you have
yes.
any timelines?
Well, of course, like I said, timing is a strategic resource, just like information. So we don't just recklessly share them. But time is coming, and wait, and you'll see very soon, before the time of the elections, we would have launched.
Let me take you to other aspects, especially around leadership. Do you think, Advocate Chamisa, that you have provided adequate leadership to give hope, sufficient leadership to give hope to your supporters? Because you have consistently and insistently said that you're going to win 2023 general election. But out there is doubt on your ability.
Well, I am surprised that out there's doubt. I don't know what yardstick you are using. I don't know who you are listening to. I don't know if we're talking about the same country and the same people. The people of Zimbabwe are very clear. They want change. They support us. They know their leaders. And they've been consistent in supporting us. And we are proud of their support, and we are very grateful and thankful for the support Zimbabweans have continued to give us. And that's why ZANU-PF is panicking. That's why Mr. Mnangagwa has headaches, stomach aches, back aches, on account of our strength. That's why he had to deploy not just the Supreme Court, he had to deploy all sorts of weaponry to try and decimate us, taking away our headquarters, trying to take away our MPs, trying to take away the political parties' finances, trying to do all sorts of things. But they've not destroyed us. They've not broken us. We're strong. We're stronger, even stronger. And we want to thank him for strengthening us and for unleashing the beast in us.
But how do you say you're strong, Advocate Chamisa? You've got a party that only has a president and a spokesperson, an interim spokesperson and a deputy spokesperson, and no other position.
Do you know Mr. Chibaya?
He's a legislator. Yes, I do know him.
What is his role?
You would inform us.
I'm just asking you because we have all the necessary functions. Organizing, elections, you name it. And we're functioning very well. And we're so happy. The leadership that is being provided is excellent. And you know, the proof is in the results. Go to the by-elections, you will see our results. Go to all the opinion polls that have been done, the poll surveys, you will see our results. Go into the markets where you see people in the constituencies, countryside or in the urban areas, we're the talk of town. Zimbabwe is yellow. Everyone is clear, including in ZANU-PF. Look at the ZANU-PF primaries. Half of the people who participated in the ZANU-PF primaries are ours. We're very active and very present. And of course, we deploy our own. And we are here.
What do you mean? You mean the candidates are yours or?
No, I'm saying the people who voted.
And why would you have your members voting in a ZANU-PF primary election?
But it's a free country. They try to also vote in ours. We just stop them. You look surprised.
And I expected more, but anyway, I want to understand when you say that you are alive when all major influencers, one of the leading media moguls in the country, Trevor Noah, has actually labeled you a mini ZANU-PF, a dictator who we are saying that we cannot replace ZANU-PF.
The last time I checked, it is Mr. Ngube who was the advisory member to Mr. Mnangagwa. So I don't understand what he's talking about. He's closer to ZANU-PF than any other person, isn't it? I am closer to ZANU-PF to the extent of opposing it, on record, to the extent of even going to the Constitutional Court, to the extent of our politics. So yes, people can say all sorts of things. You say your influencers. Yes, he's a voter. He has always supported his own candidates, and we respect that. You know, he's supporting other candidates. Let's go to the electorate. Ultimately, it's about the voters. He must vote for his own candidate, and we appreciate that.
There's a lot of opposition political parties in Zimbabwe, and some people feel that because you are so fractured and there is a lot of opposition members, it will be difficult for you to wrestle the seat from ZANU-PF because there's going to be vote splitting. What is your view?
The multiplicity of flowers in a garden makes it beautiful, isn't it? Democracy is about diversity. And diversity can never be a weakness. It's a strength. Now that we have all these political parties mushrooming and forming, that's even better. We are not fractured. The citizens are united. They know what they want. You have seen it in the past, you see it now, and you see it in the future.
You mentioned about the past. The past, Morgan Tsvangirai could have won presidency and assumed power had there not be Simba Makoni. And this is just an example of a fractured opposition. And you also made an attempt in 2018 to bring opposition forces together with what you call the MDC alliance. And at that time, you were talking about bringing one solid vote together. So why are you contradicting yourself?
I'm not contradicting myself. There are lessons in the course of history. We have learned that unit is not just unit of individuals, it's unit at the best. And the nation is united. They know the alternative voice. They are very clear. There are only two different competing forces here. The incumbent and us, the alternative. And I'm glad to say that we carry the majority opinion in the country. And you'll see it. So I can't be dragged into accounting for these political parties. People are free to form their political parties. That's what democracy is all about. And they must run. There's no fracture there. If anything, it's actually a good thing that we have different choices. That's why Mr. Ngwe will support Trevor, will support those whom I think there's a new guy whom he's trying to run with. He was running with Nkosana Moyo. That's what democracy is all about. After running with Nkosana Moyo, he then ran with Mr. Mnangagwa as an advisor. That's accepted. But you know, don't expect me to take advice from people who have been advisors to my opponent. You know, don't expect me to preach verses from the template of the opposite.
Just Tuesday, the government took independence celebrations to Mount Darwin. Massive number, turnout of people. And just after that, presidential spokesperson Joe Charamba was tweeting that this is affirmation of the support that ZANU-PF has and that its candidate for president, Emmerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa.
But why? You see, this is being so delusional. Why would you take an independence to be equated to ZANU-PF support? Why would you take people who have come to see Macheso, Dynamos, and Caps United or Highlanders for the first time to be ZANU-PF supporters? Their heads must be examined. If you ask those people, they were not there for a political party. They were there for the celebrations and for the festivities and for the joy to see Macheso for the first time for free. Yes, Macheso is supporting Mount Darwin, not ZANU-PF. Yes, Dynamos would attract supporters in Mount Darwin, but not ZANU-PF. You see, you know, the past, yes, but not now.
Some have also argued that ZANU-PF has been having massive and mega rallies around the country. And
I haven't seen any mega rally. Where have they had a rally?
They have had massive outings and none from your side.
I haven't seen any massive ZANU-PF rallies other than their attendance of church gatherings. You know, I've seen Mr. Mnangagwa at some apostolic church, and I've seen him at Mten's church. That's where I've seen him. And if you are referring to this as mega, those are places of worship. And Mr. Mnangagwa must desist from contaminating places of worship and taking politics and preaching politics. Of course, I saw him reading a verse one of these days, and he couldn't even complete that verse. He must repent first and then understand that churches are places of worship, not campaigning rallies. And that's what you are probably mistaking for rallies. Yes, they've been mega, but they are church gatherings.
And that doesn't scare you, because most of these church leaders have pledged support to ZANU-PF and have urged their members to vote for ZANU-PF. And in their thousands, they are some of the biggest churches.
Why should we talk about hypothetical situations? The practical development is going to manifest itself very soon. We are going for elections, isn't it? Let's wait and see. You will see that we are solid on the ground. The support is solid. In fact, like I said, you must be ready for a new government, for a new leadership.
Ibbo Mandaza argues that the military is a major player in Zimbabwean elections. And he says that you have exuded confidence that you will win, and you can only do so if you are in bed with the army. Are you sleeping with the army?
Well, first of all, of course, I would not say whom I'm sleeping with. But it's important for you to understand that you have to understand that politics is about the ballot and not the bullet. And you must understand that a vote is not about the views of the army, but the views of the citizens. And our army are an institution of the republic to guarantee the will of the people, the sovereignty of the people. And they've never been found wanting. We hope and we trust that they will abide by and respect the Constitution. So yes, the army naturally, just like the police, they are institutions of the state as guarantors of the will of the people. We don't expect any negation of that constitutional role.
But you say they've never been found wanting, Advocate Chamisa, but in the past you have complained about military involvement and how it has turned the tables of election or the ballot into the favor of incumbents, especially under Robert Gabriel Mugabe, and also in 2017 during the military coup.
Well, individuals have done so, but we trust the institution of the army to defend the Constitution, and that continues to be our position.
We're not going to see you cry rigging in 2023.
Look, for the first time, Mr. Mnangagwa is the one who's going to go to court. We are clear on this one. That's why he's panicking. That's why he's so scared of an election. That's why he's moving from pillar to post. That's why you have seen that he has been going to all these churches to try and galvanize and prop up his fortunes. But the writing is on the wall.
But why would someone who is afraid of elections be so organized in moving towards an election? He has held primary elections, he gazetted the delimitation report, and he's moving towards an election. Why would you say he's afraid?
Even the guilt and the afraid prepare. And more the reason why you must know that he's so scared of the election.
Is it not the opposition that is scared of elections? It's the one that has approached the Constitutional Court to try and delay elections by challenging the delimitation report.
It is the ruling party, through their sidekicks, with all these shenanigans. It's not the opposition. The opposition is not in court.
Are you implying that the leader of the MDCT, Douglas Monzora, is ZANU-PF?
May you ask him, I think he will answer better. I'm not his spokesperson. But he will tell you why he's in court and on whose behalf he's in court.
Are you saying that there is no reason to challenge and want the delimitation report deferred?
I'm sure he would answer you better.
I'm asking you, are you...
We have no reason to be in court. We have reason to prepare for elections.
Maybe put differently, do you think the delimitation report will hold the test of a free and fair election?
We have said the delimitation report has defects, latent and patent, and we've highlighted those defects. And they were supposed to be corrected. They have not been corrected. But like any other thing that's defective, that should not then stand in the way of us preparing for elections.
You've called over the release of the biometric photos law, and that has not been.
Indeed.
Do you think that you will be able to run a free and fair election if that is not given to you?
Well, like we have said, it's a number of issues. You know that currently there's a reform bill that's before Parliament. It is all those issues that are critical and essential and consequential to the running of a free and fair election. We have said, let the reforms be implemented. The issue of the voters' roll is critical. The issue of real-time announcement of the results is critical. The issue of the diaspora vote is critical. The issue of registering all those who are eligible to be registered is critical. The issue of the credibility of ZEC in terms of their integrity, in terms of their professionalism, in terms of their accountability and their independence is critical. Those are issues to be dealt with. Transitional mechanisms and provisions have to be put in place. We've put these issues and they are part of what we are going to be considering before Parliament through the Electoral Reform Bill. If we don't get them, then of course we'll make a determination on what to do next. But we are clear that we need those fundamental reforms.
Some say you're just going to be beaten and then start crying again.
But why are they not saying we're going to beat? In any event, I've listened to the people of Zimbabwe. They expect nothing except victory. So I don't know some people you are listening to. Those who have been bringing that charge sheet, you know, one accusation after the other. But of course, you know that those accusations are misplaced and misbegotten, as I have said before. We are very clear. Victory is certain. And we are very clear because the citizens know what is needed. We have proved ourselves. We have a track record. We are the alternative in this country. We are the leadership for everyone. And we mean all for all.
Let us talk about your candidate selection, Advocate Chamisa. It has been going on weeks no end.
What weeks no end, Blessed? We only started our process last week. But you know, the gestation period is also a determinant factor in terms of the quality of the product. You can't expect us to do overnight things and have fly-by-night candidates. There has to be a clear process. Nominations were done. We are happy with the nominations. Exciting faces, new faces, fresh names. People are going to give a variety of skills, gifts to the people of Zimbabwe in terms of the leadership going forward. And we're excited. We've done our nomination. Our next stage is vetting. We have to scrutinize in terms of capacity, in terms of integrity, in terms of issues to do with security. That's where we are. We just finished the process yesterday. And the next stage is going to be citizen caucuses. So we are on course. And we are taking every step meticulously and in a very thorough and comprehensive manner. We are happy. We're excited that the vast array of candidates that are emerging are excellent for Parliament and also for local authorities.
But you have been on record as a political party looking for, you know, speedy release of results from institutions like the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. And then we find you who demand such taking long to release your own internal results.
Well,
let's talk about
there's no results to release because there's nothing that is resulted from our own processes. It's currently underway. Why do you want uncooked food?
Why are you taking so long?
Why do you want? Why do you? Well, because the process demands so. It's a process. We can just bring to you people who have not been chosen by the citizens. This thing is not coming from the citizens. It is coming from the ZANU-PF corridors. It is coming from those who are sidekicks of ZANU-PF. Those are the ones who are raising issues. Why? Because they are hired guns, hired to try and just waylay us and hijack the process. But we will not allow that to happen. Our biggest thing is what we call this strategic ambiguity, the doctrine of making sure that the enemy doesn't know what we are doing. Siyahamba nyovani, siyangena nyovani, backwards, but we're going to make it.
Can you just explain to us how this process is working so that people can have an understanding?
Well, it's a four-pronged approach. The first prong is the nomination. Instead of saying people, you have to apply, This is not a job. This is not employment. This is deployment. You are not looking for employment. You are just being asked to act on behalf of the citizens. So you have to be nominated in your community. It's a disruptive, a fresh set of politics. We're introducing new politics. We are no longer talking about primaries. We are talking about consensus politics, moving away from acrimony to harmony. And that is what the people demanded, because we did a consultation with the citizens. They told us, all the opinion leaders, that come and consult us. We will give you the people who deserve to lead us and to represent us. It's a citizen affair. It's a citizen responsibility. It's a citizen project. And they've done so. And we are so happy that we have had people of integrity being nominated, credible people in communities from different sectors of society, journalists, lawyers, you talk business people, war veterans. They have all been nominated. Women, young women, and that's powerful. Students, former student leaders, that's what we would want to see. Workers, trade unions, and that is a very important exercise. The second stage is, like I told you, the vetting, which we have since done. And the third one is going to be citizen caucus. Now people choosing out of the nominated individuals, they have to choose one, who is popular in terms of acclaim and acceptability and in the communities. Once that is done, we then release the final list to the people of Zimbabwe. And how long is this going to take? Well, look, it will depend on our internal processes. But once the internal processes are done, we'll be able to announce. But how do you run a process without a timeline? No, there's a timeline. And the timeline is known. Can you share that with us? Well, the only thing is that we don't share this timeline. As I told you, I would never advise ZANU-PF for our next step. Is this not a way of evading responsibility? Our people are very clear. The citizens are very clear on what they are doing. Anyone who is not clear is not on our side. Just taking you back a bit to the economy, ZANU-PF has argued, and many other business proponents have argued, that sanctions are the major reason why Zimbabwe has retrogressed. Where before sanctions, Zimbabwe was progressing in a direction and path of prosperity. Now, do you agree with this assertion? This assertion was debunked by ZANU-PF people themselves. This Al Jazeera Gold Mafia report, they said it's not about sanctions, it's corruption, it's the smuggling, it's the dandayas in their midst. That's what they said, that's what they told us. So who are we to even oppose their own narrative? They are clear that the problem in this country is corruption, is smuggling. I told you of the illicit financial flows every year. 2.8 billion. That's not a sanction. Yes, we must mend our bridges with other countries. We must build bridges. But it takes leadership. We must fix our governance. We must tick all the boxes. You can't impose yourself on other countries. We must address our own deficit areas, omissions and commissions, so that we build a clean slate of relations with other countries. Is it your statement right now that sanctions are not hurting or affecting Zimbabwean business and the economy? They are an issue, but they are a symptom. We must go to the cause. I will never focus on a pimple. I will go to the cause of that pimple. That's what we must be focusing on. And its governance stupid. Its leadership stupid. Its politics that's broken. And we must fix that. Are you certain that if you're given the opportunity to run this country, you will deliver and not if, blessed. When? Because it's going to come. In fact, it's around the corner. You will see it. We have run this country before. I was a minister of ICT. You saw what happened. SIM cards that were very expensive, they were immediately available. Right now you can tweet, and people are toxic on Twitter there. Courtesy of our efforts. We introduced broadband here, infrastructure here, the ICT policy here. And you can see we left the country at a very good pedestal. And we have been able to do more. You will see, just wait for a time. There's going to be 5G everywhere. There's going to be ubiquity of connectivity. Connection everywhere. Network busy. That shows you collapse of leadership. Who will fix all that?
And lastly, as we close, Advocate Chamisa, you've been accused on that long list of accusations as well, that you have dumped your...
I like the charge sheet.
You have dumped
and I hope that you will pronounce me not guilty after this.
It will be the people's verdict.
Thank you.
That you have dumped the family of Job Scala, you have dumped Job Scala, and you want him to remain in prison because you are afraid that he would dethrone you and become the leader of the Triple C.
How are you dethroned by somebody whom you brought into the fore? History is very clear. We took Job Scala from MDC 99 and brought him to the mainstream out of love, out of inclusivity. Why would we throw away what we had to bring back? That's all rubbish. We are focused on making sure that Job Scala gets out of prison because he has not committed any offense. All these other things are sideshows. We are not interested in shadowboxing. We are not interested in propaganda. The family is well catered for. I can tell you that. They are not starving. Any claim that they're starving is coming from people who are malicious or who are deliberately being economical with the truth. The truth is that they are taken care of. And Job Scala has been taken care of where he is and would want him out. And people must desist from mistaking us for ZANU-PF. Triple C did not arrest Job Scala. It is ZANU-PF. It is Mr. Mnangagwa. Nelson did not arrest you. It is Emerson, not Nelson. May this be understood. It is Emerson, not Nelson. Don't mistake the two.
Maybe just the last question. There are reports that you're struggling to find candidates in some constituencies and in some wards. Can you give us clarity on that?
My dear brother, I don't understand. How do you say that we're struggling? We have not even finished the process. We will announce. If we're going to struggle, you will see it when we then announce our final list. Why should that be an issue?
Is it not the reason why you're actually delaying? So now,
but what is your definition of delay? Honestly, would you want us to produce candidates, 210 MPs, 60 women representatives, 1,970 councillors, just in a week? Why?
ZANU-PF did that.
Well, but you know, they prepared over a period of time. And it is ZANU-PF. We are not ZANU-PF. We are Triple C.
So you're saying you're not prepared?
We're prepared. Let the proclamation come, the nomination day come, and you'll see if we don't have candidates. We have good candidates in abundance. Over 2,000 MPs applying just for MP. We have over 10,000 just for councillors. Thousands of applications. That's why we are even vetting. Do you think we would vet nothing?
And for president?
Of course, the president, yes, people have nominated. And I'm glad to say that there seems to be no competition there. But wouldn't you be happy when people have confidence in you? Over 36,000 villages, all nominating to say, please be our candidate. That gives me confidence that people believe in us. And people want us to be the alternative. I'll tell you that even in ZANU-PF, they are so excited with our candidate. And we thank them. It's a national consensus. Everyone is supporting our candidate. Wouldn't you support that candidate? We expect you to support. Because that is where the nation has to go. That is the only alternative. The past is obviously proven that it's broken and can't be trusted.
Thank you very much, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, for joining us here on this, the Free Talk in proud partnership with the Frederick Newman. But as always, with all my guests, I give you an opportunity to look the people of Zimbabwe in the eye and talk to them. What is it that they should expect from you? What hopes should they pin on you?
Well, fellow Zimbabweans, this is your country. You have to register as voters. It takes two to tango. You have to reach out to those of you in the communities, in the families, even in our churches, in our various social settings, to register to vote and encourage others to register to vote. That is the only way we are going to defend our country and choose leaders that are responsible and fix our problems. We need to restore our dignity. We need to restore our happiness. We need those in the diaspora to come back to our country and be happy again together. We need a country for everyone. We need a nation that is united, moving away from just being a country to being a nation. That takes all of us united. We count on you. Go and register to vote. If you are registered to vote, get ready to vote for change. And if you vote for change, we win big. When we win big, we celebrate big. And of course, we get our true independence big. Get ready. It's happening. It's going to happen. It's you who will make it happen. It's all of us. Thank you, Zimbabwe, for the support, and thank you for your confidence in us. You will never be let down. We will defend the vote, we will protect the vote, and we will win big. The time is coming. Let's celebrate. 2023 is our year. We will win big. This is the year for citizen victory, for change. I thank you. God is in it. As I always say, our God is able. It shall happen. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, for joining us on this, the Free Talk in partnership with the Frederick Newman. Now, this is just one of the books that I found lying around in the office of the Advocate, Leadership That Delivers. I'm hoping to read it and see if the Advocate has been getting inspiration from this amazing book. But Zimbabwe needs citizens. Zimbabwe needs people who build it. It is our country and it is our responsibility to make it better, not only for us, but for generations to come, so that those who come after us will see and benefit from the wisdom that we left. If you look at most of the infrastructure, Munumutapa, the citadel of power, was built way before those who hold those offices were there. It is the vision of the past that is permeating into the future. We must not destroy our nation. This is our country too. 2023 general elections are coming. Zimbabweans must make informed decisions. Please register to vote and vote for the party of your choice. Here on this, the Free Talk with me, your host, Dara Blessed Mhlanga, as usual. I want to thank you for joining us and choosing us as your station of choice. Thank you very much, Advocate, for coming.
Thank you.